So so nice to meet you. Finally. It's been like 2 years.
I know. That's it. Nice to meet you too.
It's like the DMs of Instagram. It's like the abyss, right? You throw something in there and it's gone. Maybe it
It's
comes back, maybe it doesn't.
and this time it did.
And this time it did, 2 years later.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm fascinated by unconventional training. The whys, the whats, the whens, the hows. And then that's how we met. How did you how did you get into this? Why did you get into this? Why do you do the type of training that you do? What did you learn from it? Like, tell me about it. Talk to me.
All right. Well, I re I mean, growing up, I was kind of like did a few different sports, but I was mostly a dancer.
Mm,
Um, so danced for Celtic. So I did uh tap, and then I did Highland dancing. So a lot of on your toes, jumping around endlessly. So yeah, I did a lot of that for a better part of my childhood and into my teenage years. And then fast forward, I graduated from school and I was looking for some way to exercise. I was running on my own, and then I actually felt like a tremendous amount of pain in one of my knees. And there's probably many things. Like I was running on pavement. I probably wasn't running properly. I probably have some degree of damage to my knees from my dancing background. I've never had any kind of imaging done, but I'm sure they're not great.
mm.
So I was like crippled on the road and had to like wobble my way back home. And then anyways, I ended up going to a function and running into a gym owner at this function. And at the time, he was CrossFit. And this is like old school CrossFit. This is before even televised. It was like when the games were still in a field.
Mm.
It wasn't even linked up with Reebok any like before, and it was he was one of the first CrossFits in Canada. So this is like 15 years ago.
Yeah, like
A long time.
2009, 2010.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And that's the only like names of CrossFit that I can like name you, like Pat Barber and like
Mm.
um yeah. So I mean I'm just really bad with names, but yeah. Thor was Thor's daughter, Andy
Yep.
Thor's daughter. Yeah, she's
Yep.
still probably really big in it, but yeah. So those were the people when I was in CrossFit, and um yeah, and so that's kind of how I made my way in. And I would say that's like a little bit of unconventional, um, in the sense that you are getting like the gymnastics, the weightlifting, the high intensity, um, yeah, and all the calisthenic training that goes into CrossFit. So you kind of get a good exposure to a lot.
Mm.
Um, and then from there, my coach who taught me everything I know, um, he let go of CrossFit affiliation. He kind of didn't love the direction they were going. Um, so after 2 years of that, he let that go. We would still kind of do some styles of CrossFit, but kind of dove in a little bit more with like the gymnastics. Um, And so I did a lot of like fundamental gymnastics training. And we always did like primal. That was like literally almost every day I would do an element of like primal movement in my warm up. So like all the crawls and stuff. Um, and always doing, weightlifting to some degree. And yeah, and then it just kind of evolved from there. I stayed with him for quite a long time. Just I was just a member of the gym, but
Mm.
I learned so much, and I had a total different job. I actually worked in radio um for I went to school for marketing, so I went to school for business. And so yeah, I made a huge jump in my career. I like let that go. I was not happy with my life, with my job, and I took a huge leap of faith, quit that and moved to a different city and started coaching. So I started coaching with my coach. He started a program at a different gym in a different city, and so he asked me to coach for him. and I literally had no like formal education to coach. So I was a little hesitant, kind of said no to him like 10 times. And then I finally, I thought, I'm so unhappy with what I'm doing. And if he believes in me and he thinks I can do it, then I'm gonna give this a go. And of course, like as I when I did that, I took courses every chance that I had. So if there was something coming up on a weekend, I would get my level one like kettlebell
Mm.
or through hard style, or I would, get a mobility FRC, kin stretch, like anything that was coming up that I could afford, I would do. My Olympic lifting, like I have like a million now, but I would just try to keep adding to it. But as you know, with fitness, it's kind of weird, right? Because like unless you're working at a or big box kind of place, then each gym like they don't really like there's no standard, right? Like what you should have. Um, like we have like a personal training thing, but it's like very mediocre. Like most gym owners like don't even care if you have that because it's so silly. They want you to have like your CPR and your first aid, of course, but like it's like, well, is that gym, do you use kettlebells a lot? Well, then yes, you need to, are you working with barbells? Then okay, yes, you need to have this.
Mm.
Um, yeah. We work a lot with mobility in our gym, so there's certain things that are really good to have if you can have them. But yeah, so if that answered your question, I feel like I just went on and on and on.
Mate, you can talk as much as you want. No, I appreciate it a lot. Hearing people's journeys and how they ended up stumbling into this weird thing that we somehow try and make a career out of, and we call it fitness, right? Like
Yeah,
I mean, it's a great point. Like the standard of getting into the industry is so fucking weird. Like for a lot of us, there is no standard. It's, hey, are you like physically competent? Can you pick something up and like work physically for 12 hours? You're like, yeah. I was like, sound, come be a coach. You're like, but I'm not qualified. It's like, so
yeah,
it's so weird.
yeah,
Like the different gyms, some gyms I've gone into, they want 5 years experience. They want 20 different certs. You're like, okay, nice. And then you
yeah,
go into other ones, you're like, are you breathing? Are you alive? Are you available at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday? Like, come on
yeah,
in, make you
yeah,
$10 or something. And it's really odd. And I think we probably have the responsibility for ourselves to like nurture up young coaches. Like I don't really know the answer. Do you need a degree to get into here? No, because I didn't. Do
yeah,
you need like specific prerequisites to get in? I think so. But like,
yeah,
is it going to be the level 3 PT like you touched on? I don't think so. I think that cert is absolute bollocks.
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. I think the formal education, what I think I could have really benefited from would be like the anatomy.
yeah.
So because I had zero education in anatomy, I had to pull out books and start reading and
Mm.
understanding and yeah, just knowing more of the actual names of because I never really cared to remember that and how things are linked and I feel like I was super lucky because where I started working, it's a fully integrated healthcare facility and I'm still there now, but it's owned by an orthopedic surgeon
Well,
and he sees patients there and there's also two other doctors that work there, but then there's physiotherapy and that physiotherapy runs right in the gym. So there's
mm.
like 3 bays of physio and then big open space, like the actual gym. So I see patients coming in and out all day long, every different type of injury, post-op, pre-op, like whatever, you know. And then when I was first starting out, like the head physio would pull me aside and he'd be like, "Hey, Emma, like this person is dealing with this. Like, what do you think might be going on?" And he
Mhm.
kind of just like asked me and put me on the spot. and sometimes it'd be right, sometimes it'd be wrong. And then he would help me out so much. And I would really like get to see things from a different light and get a whole other, perspective on it. And even like the owner of the gym, like sometimes I'd be in the back office and he'd be looking at MRI scans, but for a patient, and he would show me like what he's looking at. And he would just describe everything like in the knee and like the bruising and like this part and this part. And, okay, this guy needs surgery. So I think I got really, really lucky. I feel like, um, like I've only been with 2 gyms. So it's like the fact that I walked into that one gym with like my mentor, who I still consider my mentor today. Like, yeah, I feel like, because it doesn't matter, CrossFit or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. Like you can get a bad coach, right? So he was a coach that prided himself on technique first, like weights and speed, that comes last.
Yep.
It's like you need to nail down like the foundation. You have to nail down the technique, and then you can move on and worry about weight after. So I think I just got so lucky with where I would have walked into any gym and I wouldn't have known the difference because I didn't know what it meant to work out. Like when I was in college, I would go into the gym and I'd run on the treadmill and I would do like abs. Like I knew nothing. Like I knew zero. I had zero idea of like what it meant to work out.
I love that though, man. Like that leadership style, it's bigging you up, it's asking questions, it's a collaboration rather than a bit of a dictatorship of like, just follow this. You're like, well, you're not gonna learn, and then we're not gonna help anybody else. And it rings a lot of bells for me. Like I've been able to coach underneath a lot of very, very smart coaches along the years, right? And that's all we are. We're kind of an amalgamation of all those people. And then we can then touch lives of a lot more, just because we've ended up helping each other along the way rather than, there's a ladder climbing.
You're CrossFit coach, right?
Yeah. And a lot of other stuff, S&C, Olympic weightlifting. Done a lot of sports teams over the years.
Cool.
But my bread and butter is usually GPP style CrossFit classes.
Okay.
Cool. Everyday folk, I love it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like and that's like kind of looping back to your point of like, what do you need to become a trainer? And people ask me that a lot. And like, where should I start? And like, yeah, I mean, I think you should find something like that lights you up, so that it makes it easier to coach and people feel that, right? Like I freaking love kettlebells. And I feel like, most people would look at that and maybe not like think much. So if they get that energy from you off of something as simple as a kettlebell, and they'll be, and yeah, if you try to be everything to everyone, it's just not going to work. So just like trying to nail in one thing, and then like you're not going to be able to coach everyone, and you're not going to be a good match for everyone. But like you're saying, like just the general population, like, it's really hard to coach somebody who's never walked into a gym before and is super like tight and is super uncoordinated, and like you have to know how to figure that out and find something for that person to do, and that is really challenging. And like, so you have to be good at that, and because it's really easy to coach an athlete. Like they're coordinated and they move friggin' well and they understand their body. It's like just like training a dancer. It's like you have such good body awareness, like where your limb is. It's like, teaching like a teenager boy, he's like, where's my arm?
Yeah, man.
So like there's, you have to be able to coach like the whole spectrum. And I just think it makes you such a better coach if you can coach the 5-year-old and coach the 85-year-old. It's just such a good challenge for you. to learn how to word the same exact thing like 5 different ways.
For sure. I think, as part of our, I guess, education, we need different units of like, all right, now you're gonna spend 6 weeks, for example, coaching kids, and then you're gonna spend 6 weeks coaching the elderly population, and then the disability community, and then the athletes, and then like just
Yeah.
everyday folk, and you might get an ex-athlete in that room, but you might also get somebody who doesn't know where their knee is and thinks their biceps on the leg, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, like how am I supposed to communicate, and that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing that stood out to me is like all these certs, all the ones that we need to be industry standard, quote unquote, not the extra ones that we pick up, not the mentors that we end up brushing shoulders with, or the workshops that we go to off our back, right? The industry standard ones, they talk about communication 0 times. I was like, we rely on communication. That's our fucking job.
Yeah. Yeah. And just because you can work out and like you're really good at it, like doesn't mean you can teach other people how to work out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's such a, like you have to have so much patience and understanding, and obviously that just comes with experience. Like just the other day I had somebody who had a really severe shoulder injury, but like literally has like no feeling on one side of their shoulder. So like they don't know where their shoulder is. Well, more scapular, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've ever had anything similar to that, but like literally can't feel if it's in the right position. So it's like you need to figure out how to get that person into the position in another way, so they don't slide out through the movement. And I mean, like those little things like come up every day and they're just going to make you better and better and better.
Yeah.
Like you said, just like I work with a couple people with disabilities and like Parkinson's or CP. And yeah, those just make you a better coach because, there's a whole side of their body where that they don't have feeling in, literally like don't know if their toes are tucked or untucked. And you need to be really on your game when you're coaching people that are again like not just athletes.
Yeah, man. I
And
think
like don't get me
everybody.
wrong, I like coaching athletes. But I don't know, there's something about coaching somebody who like, yeah, to do their first push-up, like it's
Yeah.
just so rewarding
Well,
when they get that.
that's life changing.
It is.
You
Yeah.
are literally changing somebody's life in the physical sense. If you
Yeah.
get an athlete come in and they shave a couple seconds off their time, or they
Yeah.
put a couple kilos on the bar, or they're able to do a fucking 3 pirouettes or something, you're like, you've not changed this person's life. You've struck their ego essentially. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
well done. Like you could probably go for, you know, provincials, or you can go for a higher level. And
Yeah.
like when it's all said and done, you're going to be sat behind a desk anyway. By 35, like it's all going to be over. And don't get me wrong, like coaching athletes, unbelievable experience. I love it too. Like I love coaching anybody. It doesn't really matter. But like if you're looking to genuinely change people's lives, I think to get into the industry, you've got to coach kids, elderly, and the disabled community.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think we
Yeah.
would kick out, just by natural selection, we would kick out a lot of shit coaches that don't want to be in the industry.
Right.
Because it's hard.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I just had one of my clients with Parkinson's, like he just said that it was recently a lot easier for him to put his jacket on.
Oh man.
And he thanked me. And he said like the mobility training we're doing, and I just feel so much better and I can actually lift my arm up and put my jacket on. And he couldn't do it before. So it's like, it's so simple and we take it for granted.
Yeah.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
like, but it's so amazing. Like when you have somebody thank you for something like that, it's like,
quality of
Come
life,
on.
man. It's
Yeah.
just it's gone tenfold just by being able to put your jacket on, not rely on anybody else. And
Yeah.
then never mind the psychological benefits that's got. You know, imagine like you can't even tie your laces up, put your jacket on. You got to ask somebody. You feel like shit. And then
Yeah.
now you're able to do it. It's a cascading effect. You know,
Oh
mentally,
yeah.
they're now like, well, if I can do this,
Yeah.
what can I do next?
Yeah. And like not like accepting, because Parkinson's is like a very challenging disease, but like,
Yeah.
you know, if you just like some people just accept it and just like
Yeah.
go, you know. But if you realize that you can mitigate, you can improve, and you don't have to just accept where you are and that it's just going to be a decline from there, you know. I mean, it's great. Like it's it's yeah, it's good.
I mean, it makes getting up out of bed at 5, 6 a.m., 4 a.m. sometimes worth it, right? It makes
Oh my God, you get up
working.
at 4?
Well, sometimes you gotta help some folk and they're morning people, you know?
Oh God, no. I draw the line. I draw the line at 5. I'm up 3 days a week at 5 because I coach a 6 a.m. class. And like that is like 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, well, okay, so 5 is good in the summer here in
Yeah.
Canada because you're like up and the sun's coming up and you're on the road. I'm on the road at 5:30, sun's up. I'm watching it rise. It's beautiful. But like dead of the winter, like it doesn't get light here until like 7, 8 o'clock. So you're just like miserable. It's pitch black out. Like pitch black.
Yeah,
Paralyzed dog.
I've done some red eye shifts, man. You
Yeah.
know, I've done some like PTing before a morning class, you know, so I'm PTing at like 4:45. I'm in the gym. Yeah,
Oh,
something silly like it's fucking freezing. Obviously, usually CrossFit gyms, functional style gyms are usually in warehouses, right? So
yeah.
insulation is a zero, you know. So
Yeah.
you're there just gonna okay, guys, like this is what we're gonna do next. Like stood at this board and yeah, I've done some dirty shifts.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, that's wild. Good for you. What time do you
Well,
have to go to bed at? Like
uh,
if you're
whenever I can,
like you have to go to bed at like 8 o'clock.
something like that. Yeah. Usually whenever you can. But I mean, back home, I would have an athlete come in. He had a funny story. I can't remember his name. It was fucking years ago. It's probably close to 10 years ago. But he didn't want his missus to know he was going to the gym. So he would come before the morning class. Yeah, it was a wacky story. He was like scared that she was going to think he was cheating or something like that. He was coming to see me, right, to work out, and he would go back. Super, super weird story, but I'm like, okay, mate, like I can help you. I can come in early if this is going to help you out. So he'd sneak out in the morning. We'd train for an hour, and he'd get back to his house by 5 o'clock in the morning. Right? Again, weird
That's
story.
crazy.
Yeah,
That
fucking
seems that seems even more sketchy. Like if I was
100.
if I like, why are you leaving at 4 in the morning, dude?
But it's one of those where you're like, this sounds real weird, but
Yeah.
actually, I don't want anything to do with this because it seems really fucking odd. So
Yeah.
whatever you want, I'll be at the
Yeah.
gym when you leave. Please don't call me. You know, don't bring me into this.
I hope you charged him double for that.
What, for him sneaking out or for the time?
The time.
Yeah, the time was a bit nasty. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, there was times where you're just in the gym like constantly, right? Or you go from
Yeah.
one gym to the next, and you know,
Yeah.
definitely back home. Like I fucking what 4:30, I'd be in the gym, and I'd probably leave about 9 p.m. at night, 9:30 maybe after you've cleaned up, you know, and you
That's crazy.
rinse
Yeah.
and repeat, earn your stripes, I guess, or just be too crazy.
Yeah.
Probably the last one.
Um,
I am
so
blind.
were you ever a gym owner or were you just were you coaching at the gym?
No, just the gym, just coaching at the gym, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
ran a couple of spots, been like quote unquote, I fucking hate using the term, but whatever, like the head coach, so to speak, or ran some S&C programs for like a swimming club and D1 swim team and a university and stuff like that. But no, I've never owned the facility, which has its pros and cons. You know, usually you've got to obey by some rules that you probably wouldn't have put in place, but at the same time, you don't have to pay the rent. So
Yeah.
pros and cons.
I know I always get that question if I want to own my own gym someday, though, and I'm just like, I really don't think I do.
Mm.
You know, I just think that responsibility, um, and I don't know, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I just feel like I'd have a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah,
I'd have to definitely learn how to delegate and
yeah,
not, because, and then I know how hard it is to find good staff, even just like somebody to clean the gym. Like it's freaking impossible. Like no one wants to do those jobs anymore. And like the owners end up cleaning the gym and it's like, and not that not that you're above that, because I've cleaned the gym, I still clean the gym up, but it's just like, yeah, you just can't find anybody to do it. You gotta
yeah.
you have to hire an actual cleaning company to come in. So you can't find somebody who wants to do it, even in exchange for like a membership. Like it's just like nearly impossible to find somebody to, just those little jobs and like admin, like answering the phone and
Mm.
I don't know. It's just like it's hard for like I don't know how it is where you are, but just like yeah, just retention, finding the people to do those little jobs. Um, yeah,
It's definitely a tough thing, and from my experience, like when you own the gym and you've created a facility, it basically turns into your people management, and you're not coaching that much anymore. And I think I'll always be hands-on coaching, even if it's 5 hours a week or something, right? I'll always want to do something and
yeah,
be in front of people and help them. But when I kind of, I'm like, I don't want to get up at fucking 5 o'clock in the morning anymore. I don't want to take morning classes in the dead of winter. Yeah, I'll probably end up owning a facility you delegate from, and then it becomes more of a nurturing of people within the industry.
yeah,
And a facility then, creating a foundation for a place for people to come to. But then at the
mhm,
same time, like you have a great point. You got to really trust those coaches. They're not
yeah,
going to give a shit as much as you because it's not their place.
exactly. And like if you want to ever take a holiday,
Yeah,
like you have to trust somebody is not going to burn your place down for like the 2 weeks that you want to go away, or
yeah,
even 1 week. But like, yeah, I mean, I know I've spoken to so many gym owners over the years, but like, yeah, they just don't take holidays for the
yeah.
good for the first, 4 or 5 years of opening the gym because they're just grinding, making sure things are good until they can build a team that they trust to run the place while they're away. But yeah, it's I'm not, and I never say never,
Mm,
because like if I found like a good like a couple of partners, like I think uh that would be a route I would go, or just like a boutique kind of small space that I run on my own. I could see myself doing that.
mm.
But yeah,
It,
as far as like a bigger gym with big classes, makes me a little anxious.
yeah, it's definitely there's so much more work that goes into it
Yeah,
that we wouldn't see, right? And especially folk that don't work like we work in our industry. Like you just kind of come in and you walk past the gym. You're like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. You can go to work with trainers on and wear trackies and stuff and leggings. You're like, oh, man, like you do so much work that isn't paid for.
yeah,
Like 50% of your work is basically free. That's why we've
yeah,
got to charge more than free minimum wage, double, triple. It's like because of
yeah,
all the work that you do for free. So there's a hell of a lot more that goes into it for sure.
yeah. What's minimum wage there? Just
In New
curious.
Zealand,
Yeah.
21.20. Yeah.
How is how's that comparable to like US dollars?
New Zealand dollar and the Canadian dollar is basically the same.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So,
Well, our like minimum wage is like 15 something.
mm,
It's really low. Can hardly do anything with $15.
I mean, minimum wage back home is like 10 pound, £9.
Oh wow. Well, pound is like how
One
how
pound,
much is that?
£1 is like 1.9 NZD. So I guess 1.9, 1.8 CAD.
Yeah. So still a lot more than Canadian like our minimum wage.
Definitely shouldn't be working for minimum wage in the fitness industry.
Oh my God, no. No. I would die.
Yeah. You gotta at least double that shit. Even people that come fresh out of PT school, right? It's
Yeah.
like you can't be working for minimum wage.
No.
Like you're just gonna destroy the next generation and the next layer of coaches, and then next thing you know, 5 years time, we have zero people wanting to do the job.
Exactly.
That's what
Yeah.
happens to teachers, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But who'd have known? We're just a couple of blonde kids. We don't know much.
Exactly.
Fucking, we wear trainers to work. We don't wear
Mhm.
suit and tie. We don't know what we're talking about.
No, we don't. Not at all.
Boss, I got a question.
Yeah.
What's 3 words you tell your younger self?
3 words I tell my younger self?
Yeah.
Oh man. Put me on the spot with that one. Okay. 3 words. Um, mistakes.
Mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, like in the sense of make them, don't worry, you'll learn from them.
Mm,
Yeah. Don't be so worried.
for sure.
Uh, more like YOLO. Like I remember just graduating school and being so worried and finding a job. And then I have an older brother and he's like, Emma, like travel, like go now, like travel. And I was like, with what money? I was so stressed out. Like I should have just, I don't know, asked my parents for money to travel. Like my brother said, like once you get that job, you know. So
Mm,
I feel like I was always like just so worried about my income and just not
mm,
being dependent on my parents. And um yeah, I just feel like I would tell my younger self to live a little more, you know?
mm,
It's a lot easier and a lot more fun to do when you're younger, you know? Not that you can't do it when you're older, but staying in hostels and backpacking is, you know, a cool thing to do if you're young.
young man's game.
Yeah. Um, I know these aren't like words that you asked for 3 words, but what would be the third one? Confidence.
Mm,
Uh, self-confidence. Have the belief, the confidence in yourself. Like, you know, there's I know I'm butchering this saying, but like, there's someone else out there doing like living your dream
yeah.
who's like less
Qualified.
people qualified. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Qualified than you are, and they're doing it because they have the confidence, they have the guts
Mm,
to do it. Um, it literally like it's literally that simple. Like just try, even if you fail, like just try.